Hey gamers, Maniac here with another pre-order stories. This one's going to be a bit briefer, but I think that this pre-order is kind of an exciting one. Back in 2005, a company called Irrational Games was releasing a sequel to a game that I actually enjoyed quite a bit. It was going to be called Freedom Force versus the Third Reich, the sequel to Freedom Force. For those of you who don't remember, Freedom Force was probably the very first game on PC or console that was superhero-based that was actually good. And most people probably chalked it up to the fact that it wasn't a licensed game. All of the characters that were in the Freedom Force game were all original characters, so that the game developers had total control over what these characters could and could not do. Now, as to what would later happen after the game was released, unfortunately, Freedom Force versus the Third Reich didn't sell very well, which is extremely unfortunate because it was a really, really good game. And, I mean, it was like, if you like Diablo or comic books, or both, you would love Freedom Force. And the company later got sold, had to basically sell itself to the publisher 2K, who would then go on to make some of the greatest games of all time, the Bioshock series, Bioshock and Bioshock Infinite specifically. And the rest is history. Yes, these games were directed and created by the company responsible for Bioshock. This is it. This is Freedom Force versus the Third Reich. Now, I know what you're probably saying. This is the full box. Where's the pre-order incentive, or what was the pre-order incentive at the time? Oh, that GameSpy logo. Oh, I miss you. So yeah, this is Freedom Force versus the Third Reich. It's a great game regardless, and you should definitely seek it out if you have a PC. Most PCs nowadays can probably play it with, with their eyes closed. But Irrational Games was actually selling because of course they had, at that time, they had full rights to Freedom Force. And I guess maybe because they were self-funding, I don't know, and maybe that's partially why the fact that the game didn't sell as well as they'd hope it did was so hurt as much as it did, for one or two really major reasons. Irrational and Bioware, just before Freedom Force versus the Third Reich came out, had a little bit of a cross-promotional thing going on. BioWare had already released Neverwinter Nights, KOTOR, and stuff like that. And so they were branching out in kind of promoting games, probably for financial incentive or whatever, but BioWare was heavily promoting Freedom Force versus the Third Reich, so much so that they actually had a pre-order site set up that BioWare was directly linking to, that offered basically online orders for the game. And I ended up buying the game online. And for pre-ordering the game, you got two incentives. One was this bonus disc. This is a bonus disc with some extra characters or character skins, I don't know. It's been a long time since I played the game, but I have played it to completion, and it's a great game, so I got to give them that. So it came with not just this bonus disc, but it came with one piece of art. Now you're asking yourself, what piece of art did it include? What was this piece of art? Do you still have this piece of art? Well, this piece of art has been hiding in plain sight since before this site has ever been, or this YouTube channel for that matter has been posted. It's right there. That piece of art that you've seen over my shoulder for many, 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 many videos is the pre-order incentive for Freedom Force versus the Third Reich. What do you say we take a closer look at it, shall we? This is Tombstone, one of the new characters for Freedom Force versus the Third Reich, with his early concept art, signed by its artist. Now, that's probably a print. I don't think that's an original sketch. That's probably a reprinting of the original sketch, but I'm pretty certain that's his actual autograph. That's been hanging in my room on the wall for going on 15 years. Did I tell you I was old? I just realized that. That's been up there for 15 years. But yeah, That piece of art that has been hanging up that you've been looking at, of course, there's my copy of Bioshock Infinite, just to tell you. Yeah. So I ended up picking up the game. I ended up, ordering it. They shipped it with the bonus disc. Now, as far as I know, there was another bonus disc that was released exclusive to Best Buy. Best Buy was doing yet another empty box campaign. I think they had an extra skin for the character of the ant. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty certain it was an extra bonus disc with some alternate character designs or alternate characters. I don't know, but I think it was focused around the character of the ant. When I say the ant, I mean the Freedom Force ant character. So yeah, not really much that went into that pre-order. There's not really much of a story behind it other than the fact that it was a kind of a cool story. But there is a bit of a follow-up to that story, and I was kind of hoping you guys could follow up any further. Obviously, Ken Levine is no longer with 2K Games. He branched off shortly after Bioshock Infinite was out, and his intention was, of course, to release indie game after indie game after that, on small development teams. Don't know if he ever did that much with it, so don't quote me on that. Sorry. Apologies for that. Don't know if he did really much with it, or maybe he just retired. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. A couple of other things, though, that this game never got a patch. This game never received a patch. The PC release is the release. There was no day 1 patch. There was no day 2 patch. There was no patch because the game actually was pretty bug-free. It had some problem running on some older systems that lacked certain GPU shaders, but that's really not a problem anymore when you think about it. I think there were a couple of maps specifically that if you didn't have the shaders would crash. But then again, those GPUs didn't meet the game's minimum system requirements anyway, so it really wasn't much of a complaint. So, yeah. It ends on a cliffhanger, which, as far as I know, to this day, has never been resolved. Kind of sucks. I really did like the characters. Part of the reason why I liked Freedom Force was because I thought all of its original characters, whether it be the Minuteman, the Ant, the Alchemist, Manbot, El Diablo, Eve, Tombstone, or any of the characters that were added in Freedom Force versus the Third Reich, where they showed World War II villains like the Sky heroes, like the Sky King, or who else was the other character? Or Blackjack. Loved, or Tree Color. Loved all those characters. Really wish we could have seen them brought into another medium, like comic books, for example. As far as I know, there has not been a Freedom Force comic book, and you would think that would be like the first thing that they would have done after they broke off. But as for who owns the rights to Freedom Force right now, my guess is it's probably in 2K, and 2K has just been sitting on it for the last 15 years or whatever. Kind of sucks, but again, we did get Bioshock out of it. One would argue we would get Bioshock out of it regardless, but who knows. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this story. There's a few more that I have to tell, but those won't be today. Until next time, guys, my name is Maniac with GameAccess.net. Take care. Over and out.